So Fernandes, the top-scoring midfielder in the Premier League, and there's an interesting combination that's emerging elsewhere. That's at Liverpool between these two, Ekitike and Florian Wirtz, two new signings. A lot has been talked about them, and you start to think about those combinations. Recently, it's been Kane and Son a little bit further back, talking about Chelsea, Lampard and Drogba, who worked very well together. But how exciting is this for Liverpool, Jamie?
It's exciting because it gives you... You're sort of looking to the future as a Liverpool supporter about what the team can be like. We've said about, eventually the team's got to move on from sort of Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, and you need to see these players emerge. And also for the manager, we talked last week on the back of the Bournemouth defeat about you've got to have hope that this sort of project's going to move forward. It gives you hope when you see the new signings playing as they are.
They like working for each other. I mean, this is what this is about, isn't it? One will create for the other, and we saw that very much against Newcastle.
Yeah, and what's interesting, I think both of them like to play almost in this sort of left channel, inside left. So you see Florian Wirtz does a lot of his best work here. So does Ekitike. But when you think why you buy players like Florian Wirtz, and you talk about deep blocks, Arne Slot, that's a deep block. And you need a player like that with magic feet like that to fix it. And Johnny on the spot is his mate who finishes. But that's what you're talking about, breaking teams down. But that was very important. Newcastle had dominated that first half an hour and they needed that moment of magic. But then, listen, for me, the second goal is absolutely fantastic. Look at this guy permanently scanning. I think initially he's looking, where's Kieran Trippier? Have I got space? He's looking over his right shoulder. Then he looks over his left shoulder. Now, is that seeing where Trippier is? Is that maybe trying to create space here for his mate, Ekitike, coming? So as soon as he looks over the left shoulder, the arm comes out from Ekitike. Look, he's running into that space. He's drawn Kieran Trippier on, and now that space is here. And now, let's just sit back and watch this. Absolutely a fantastic goal. Everyone knows it's an amazing goal. Running at speed. Defender, Chow's trying to slow him down. Probably doesn't realise how quick he is. But I want to really slow this down. Now,
and this is the same clip.
Yeah.
We've managed to piece it together so it's two different angles of the same motion.
Yeah. But I think this is really important. He slows the defender down, OK, so then he can burst past him. And you've got to look at his feet movements as soon as he makes this first touch. I'm going to really concentrate on this angle initially. So now he's been shown on his left. So I think, OK, I'm going to knock this ball past you, and we're off. And I'm maybe going to finish with my right foot. So look at the step patterns. So normal steps, he's sprinting, running, making that step. And when he lands now on the left foot, we're going to stop this now. I think he now feels I've got more space or time than I initially thought, because once he plants this left foot, his right foot now comes right across him. So he has to decide now the balance of his body. So now the next step onto the right foot. Now the right foot normally for most people would land here, but this right foot lands right in front of where
himself, yeah.
He comes across himself, because he wants his left foot now to go outside the ball. Normally, your right foot would be going outside the ball and you'll be shooting with your left foot. But no, the right foot's come across. Now the left foot's going to come. But just before that left foot lands, because he takes a really small step, and that's why I want to use this angle here, he's now not touching the floor. You see both feet there actually in the air, yeah, because he's taken such a small step, such quick feet. And then you see the foot land outside the ball now, which gives him the opportunity to do that. And you just stop it there now. You see his body shape, especially on this angle, or both angles really, he's not over the ball. He's almost leaning back. This skill here, what he does, because we've all toe poked the ball as kids, but you'd normally toe poke it forward. He toe pokes it to the side. It's an unbelievable finish, very Romario-like from the 1994 World Cup. And we just see this other angle here.
Do you think this is the sort of skill he would have to practice, Jamie?
Listen, he said after the game he practices this finish. But the thing what I'm talking about is, he only decides in the middle of this what he's going to do. Think about being a footballer. You're playing at Anfield, the noise, how quick you've got to decide and make your decision. That's all happening in a split second. And when he plants that left foot, as I said before, he's then deciding then. And I think for the great players, certainly the great attackers, everything slows down in that moment.
Here's another split screen. A couple of famous Liverpool combination here.
Yes.
Gerrard and Torres. Yeah. People are making the comparison, Jamie. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, the goal's similar. This goal's better. No doubt for me at all. I actually think Hugo Ekitike is a better player than Torres. I'm not sure he'll get as many goals as Torres as he did over a couple of years. But what Fernando Torres had, he had Steven Gerrard. I think Fernando Torres, certainly in Liverpool's shape, was made by Steven Gerrard. Now, I don't think Hugo Ekitike would rely as much on Florian Wirtz, but if that combination keeps going, then that's when you could maybe get the goals that Fernando Torres got.
And what would you say about Florian Wirtz? You feel he is growing into this Liverpool team and also the Premier League as well?
He is, and he's just... I wouldn't say... He's getting better all the time, there's no doubt about that. Listen, I think I questioned Mo Salah a few months ago about not giving Wirtz a pass in I think a European game. So it was great to see that, great finish, and it was great to see the celebration between the two of them as well, because eventually the mantle has to be passed on to Florian Wirtz and Ekitike. And there's no doubt the lad has real quality. And the reason we're going to use this is when he first came into the Premier League, Dave, is that I almost likened him to Kevin De Bruyne. The Premier League has lost Kevin De Bruyne. We've gained Florian Wirtz. Forget the teams they play for. We're talking about special players coming into our league.
Well, let's explain this a little bit. The expected assist really is a way of measuring a player's creative ability, the chances and passes that they make for other players. And Kevin De Bruyne really is the gold standard, isn't he? And this figure of 0.37 is his career average in the Premier League. And you can see that it's some way off for Florian Wirtz. And this is his chart coming into Liverpool. So we can track it over a 5-game rolling average when after 14 games he was not faring too well. And people were asking a lot of questions, but see how that has climbed over the last 10 games up to 0.35 per game, but he's getting to that Kevin De Bruyne level, which he set over his entire career. And by the way, there is one outlier this season, and that is our friend at Manchester City, Shirky, who's at 0.5 in his City career so far. But is this matching what your eye is telling you from watching his performances? Yes,
absolutely, no doubt. And when I've watched Florian Wirtz a lot this season, and I've thought, could he ever get to Kevin De Bruyne's level, as in terms of, if I think of De Bruyne, obviously a great player, but it was always about goals and assists. When I watched Florian Wirtz, I was thinking, is he just going to be a player who actually is lovely on the eye? And maybe a little bit reminiscent of a David Silva type of player where, OK, David Silva wouldn't have got the numbers of Kevin De Bruyne, but he just knitted everything together. And I think he's almost got a little bit of both. I'm not sure he'll ever get the numbers that Kevin De Bruyne did, but he may be a little bit more similar to David Silva. There's no doubt he's a quality player. But when we're talking about his slow start, I think one of the games that really stood out was Manchester City away. And Gary Neville said on commentary, and rightly so, he looks like a little boy out there. You know, we'd give him a bit of, a few months coming into England. Big game, high-profile game. But he's now got Manchester City at Anfield. He's now really confident. He's got this sort of partnership and combination with Ekitike. He's gone from a little boy, as we said, early in that season. OK, you have to take your criticism when you cost that amount of money. But I think it's a great opportunity to shove those words down Gary Neville's throat, hopefully.
Not just
over football. With us this morning, sports broadcaster and commentator Jackie Oatley, Riyadh Al Samurai, chief sports feature writer for the Daily Mail, and the Times chief correspondent Martin Samuel.
Sounds surprised.
No, not at all. I'm just reeling after what we were talking about in the break there, but that's a whole other story. Let's talk, finally, as promised, about Liverpool's 4-1 victory over Newcastle United at Anfield last night. The Sunday Express goes with X marks the spot. Hugo plundered pairs of as as Reds come from behind. Jackie, this is almost a case of look at what you could have won for Newcastle United, isn't it? The Sunday Times, Paul Joyce, who was at the game, says, in the end, Newcastle United's regret was not over the one they lost, but the one that got away. Liverpool had always been Ekitike's first choice, despite Newcastle's efforts to lure him from Eintracht Frankfurt for an initial £69 million. It will be of little consolation for Howe that he clearly knows a player. I mean, Newcastle United must look at that and think, if only. We lost Isak as well. We went for Ekitike and we haven't got either of them now.
Yeah, but it's not as if they didn't try. It's not as if they did anything wrong to not get him or didn't rate him or something, and now they've realised, oh, actually, he's a decent player after all. He's clearly a fantastic player. I think if there's any regrets, it might have been with Liverpool and the pursuit of Isak and how that all went, and it's kind of muddied the waters, and he's ended up being injured anyway. But that's another story. I think Hugo Ekitike maybe hasn't had enough credit this season because we've talked about so many issues with Liverpool and some of the negatives and the injury problems they've had and, the bad run, the terrible run that they had earlier in the season. And also seeing here Florian Wirtz, fantastic that he's showing now what he's capable of. That was always maybe going to take a bit of time. But credit to Ekitike, 15 goals and 4 assists in 32 games for Liverpool, 10 goals in 21 Premier League games. And he just looks so calm, so confident. This burst of pace there, that was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful to watch that. And he just looks as though he's got plenty more of that in the locker. Oh, what a fabulous signing. But in terms of Newcastle, it's not as if they didn't try. It's just that Liverpool's a massive attraction.
Riyadh, Paul Joyce says a cry of champions, champions, champions echoed around Anfield at the full time. The Kop will no longer be able to sing that too much longer, but it served to show this was an overdue good night. It was a pulsating game, but did we really see both sides of Liverpool last night? Because for the first half an hour, they could have been in big, big trouble and not just one goal down. Did it show why, yes, they are fighting hard for a Champions League finish, but also why they've fallen so short, so woefully short in their title defence?
Yeah, I think so. And I think you look at that actual defence, that back line, they're still wide open. They're still vulnerable to any kind of direct play. And I think more than any of the other variables with Liverpool this season, I think it's been that rival teams clocking onto the fact that we can get at them this way. We're going to go long, we're going to go direct, and Slot hasn't really found a solution. It's like, sure, yesterday they've turned it around into a big win, but we're still talking about a side who a week ago lost to Bournemouth. They've put 6 on a fairly dreadful Carragher side, and they've beaten Newcastle, who, let's not be under any illusions, they're in mid-table for a reason. They spent the Isak money on Voltemade and Jan Visser, and I wouldn't say that they would, on balance, be happy with that. But you know, Liverpool have beaten a fairly ordinary team, I would say. But I keep going back to that Bournemouth game. This is a Liverpool side you can't trust. It's been the theme of their entire season. You
mentioned that teams can get at them, and yeah, I guess a lot of criticism has been aimed at one particular defender in Ibrahima Konate. He did return after the death of his father recently, and he returned and scored. So on the flip side, we should give credit where it's due as well, shouldn't we?
No, absolutely. It was clearly, it's understandably it's going to be an incredibly traumatic time in his life, and he's come back there, and you could see the emotion for him in scoring that goal, and you've got to be happy for him in that scenario, because let's not forget as well that when there has been this discussion about Liverpool and their vulnerabilities and what did they miss out on by not signing Mark Gahey, Konate has been the target of that. People aren't looking at Van Dijk and saying you're the weak link. They're looking at the guy next to him, and so he's been through it. These guys aren't made of iron, and he's had that awful sort of personal scenario to go through. So, good for him. Good on him that he's had that moment yesterday. That was nice, and you could see what it meant to him.
Martin, this summer, clearly it's going to be a very, very busy transfer window. But rather like this transfer window, it could be dominated by managerial changes again. Mm-hmm. Could we see a managerial change at Manchester United, even at Manchester City? Crystal Palace clearly are not going to be having Oliver Glasner there. But the two men in situ at Anfield last night, in Arne Slot and Eddie Howe, is there a world where both of those clubs could be looking at a new manager next season?
I'm not so sure about Arne Slot, because I think winning the league in your first season at Liverpool does mean something, and I would expect him to be given more time. Eddie Howe, maybe. I mean, if the England job became available, you don't know if Eddie would be offered that. I think he should be offered that, but you don't know whether he would be. And you wonder whether at some stage the project will want something more from the manager. It's possible. I don't think either of them are doing a bad job, really. I mean, I think Arne Slot, it's a strange thing because spending all that money in the summer, it is hard to manage that upheaval in your team and to change the way your team is playing in the way that he has had to this year. Eddie Howe, we all know the limitations on Newcastle. It's the richest club in the world that has to behave, like they're Newcastle, basically, and that's a very strange thing. They get beaten by Liverpool to their best player. They get beaten by Liverpool to their biggest transfer target. So I've got an enormous amount of sympathy for both of those guys, and I don't think either of them deserve to lose their job in the summer. Eddie Howe, what could happen with England, that wouldn't be losing your job.
Yes, without a win, the reigning champions back to winning ways. 2 goals for Hugo Ekitike. In fact, quite a few of the big summer signings scoring this weekend. Torres for Arsenal, Šeško, which we'll see later, for Manchester United as well. So we thought with Ekitike at the headline act, and with 2 former Golden Boot winners with me, that we would talk big money strikers and just see where they're at so far this season. So we've analysed the 5 who cost the big money. Here we go. 2 of them, of course, from Liverpool. Ekitike, Voltemada, Šeško, Torres and Isak, who, of course, has had his injury problems. He's played the fewest games. But we have the goals. In the league, this is, of course, and the minutes per goals. And as you can see, Hugo Ekitike at the top of that chart. In fact, he's got 15 in all competitions. How impressed have you been, Kev, as a goal scorer, with the way he's hit the ground running with those numbers?
Very impressed. Very impressed. Seen him live a couple of times this season, and players look better live. When you watch him on the telly, then you go and watch him play live. He's a good player. He's got a bit of everything to his game. He's shown that he can score all types of different goals with his right foot, his left foot. And when you see his goals and we run through them, he's majority of the time, yes, he likes to run the channel, but he's always within the width of the goal, where you want your striker to be. So he's been a fantastic signing. And, with the injury to Isak, he's had to step up, and he's certainly done that.
What's he given Liverpool this season that perhaps they didn't have at times last season, Michael, with these finishes?
Well, Liverpool over recent seasons have probably relied so much on Mo Salah scoring all the goals. Mo Salah's numbers
from a wider area.
Down from a wider area. Now I think they've got a better option centrally.
Diaz played there a lot, didn't he?
Yeah, their central striker for many years now hasn't necessarily been their top scorer, which is quite rare in football. Maybe not as rare in today's game with a lot of big scoring wider players, but it has been rare for Liverpool. So I think he's given them more of a focal point down the middle. And at a time, might be a coincidence, but it's certainly at a time when Mo Salah's not been as his prolific best as well. I think this kid is seriously special.
How special?
If you're talking last 5 years, if you ask people around the world who's the best striker, you're talking Mbappe's, you're talking Lewandowski's, you're talking Harry Kane's, players like that. I think with all of those players, and apart from Mbappe, if you're looking at the next wave of centre forwards to be the elite, I think we're talking Ekitike is going to be one of those 3 or 4 in world football in the next few years. I think he's that good. I think he does everything. Let's have a look at some of the clips. He's direct, first of all, very direct. And, when you're direct, things like this go for you. He dropped...
On your debut?
This is his debut. OK, that's a little bit lucky and it bounces in his favour. But when you are running at pace, when you're going at the heart of the defence, I think you can get a little bit lucky. Again, holding the ball up, turning, running direct, having awareness to play the ball as well. All of these things. There's not a single aspect of his game that I don't think he can't do. Let's have a look at this as well. In fact, we'll run it at normal speed until the finish.
So what I like about him is his first thought is, can I turn, can I play forward? That's his first thought, and that is a natural born striker. Look, the big thing that stands out for me is the finisher we've just seen. Is look, how many players do you see in this situation at times just take the lever off the ball, just happy to just try and hit the tie? He's not. He knows where he's passing that. He's opened his body up perfect because he knows.
Is that his only option, Kev? Is this being blocked?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's clever. That's clever.
This is the finish, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, 100%. He's recognised where the space is. He knows he can't go. It would take one hell of a strike to bend it round there, but then it's just concentration on technique, and he don't just pass it in there. He passes it with pace as well, which is hard to do. So for me, when you look at all his finishes, every one of them is passed into the net.
Deceptive power, isn't it, with the side of his foot? The other thing I would say is when the ball comes from this, your natural right foot, if I just clear that, your natural right foot, when you hit it without thinking, is a little bit like that. It bends slightly, doesn't it? But when it comes from there, the weight of the ball is coming this way. So the weight you can actually use that weight of the ball to your advantage. And actually, if you hit it flat with your foot, like square on, you will get a little bit, just a little bit of this. It can actually fade that way, just by the ball coming. Do you know what I mean? You use the weight of where it's going, and he does that. I mean, this is so accurate. It's absolutely incredible finish. Bang, right into the corner. The only place he can score. That is a seriously good finish. Again, look at the direct play here. I love this because he knows what's around him in this situation, getting himself back onside, and then when he moves into this situation here, he takes a touch. If there was nobody on his inside here, he could let that ball come across him and actually open up his angle a little bit better. But he knows what's on his inside and takes his touch, a small touch. Again, if he takes a big touch, he's going over here. He's going to make his finish really difficult. So he takes it's a small touch, but it's the angle. If he touches it in here, he's knackered. It's just a tiny touch over here to stay away from the defender, but enough to go bang, bang, and make it an easier finish for himself. It's a wonderful finish again.
I think as well, you know, if you can...
Do you want to take it back?
Just take that one back.
Yeah.
I think the run itself, getting himself back on side is... You know, what you want your centre-forwards and world-class centre-forwards is get in between defenders so they don't know where you are. They don't know where. Then it's about the weight of pass. Whereas I see too many centre-forwards now will come and plonk themselves on the centre-half and make it too difficult. He recognises where the space was.
His hands
out. It's almost like a touch finish. He recognises, because it's the Premier League, you're up against good defenders. You can't take too many touches. And most of his finishes are touch finish. Yeah. And that's repetition on the training ground as well. Here, anticipating, you know, which any good striker should be doing, preying on a mistake, and again, passing it into the net. He couldn't have gone anywhere else but pass it in there. And it's a tough one, because you see so many people drag that ball far away from the post, and he doesn't. You know, it's concentration levels.
Yeah, again, I mean, so many people just smack the ball in the situation. He's on the edge of the box, but he's still got enough power in the side of his foot to be more accurate. Again, so if that was preying on something that might, you know, sniffing out a chance, this is as well the only person thinking, right, you know what, that's a bad clearance, I can potentially pick this one up. And his touch, I mean, take that away.
Touch finish.
Watch him here just drifting
in between, you know, in between the sticks, hoping that ball's going to come to him. He's alive, he's alert, and he knows he can only tackle this. And what a finish, you know, from a player that's scoring goals for fun. He's full of confidence. Again, you know, at times, you know, people say to centre forwards, you've got to be on the move. Well, you might question, can he head a ball? Well, that answers your question.
I just love this goal.
Yeah,
I love this goal because to people that haven't been in this position, just try to explain what you're thinking in here. You can't go up and head it the way you want to head it, because if you all jump up at the same time, the defender's normally as tall as you, and you can't get a clean contact. So what he does there, and I'll just take it back, what he does there, he jumps early, so he gets his arm on the defender. But the problem with jumping early is when the ball actually touches your head, you're then coming down. You're using your leverage, but you're coming down, and that weakens your effort. So then that changes how you're going to head it. Because if you're up there and you power it, you can go bump and direct it. When you're coming down, you're losing all power. So all of a sudden, you've got to loop it. So all of these tiny things are going through your head. I'm never going to be able to win this unless I jump early. So I'll jump early, I'll use him as leverage, but that means I'm going to lose power. So as you're coming down, you're changing your header from a thumping header to a looping one into the far corner. It's just... It's know-how, it's experience, it's striking play, it's brilliant.
I think if you just take it back a little bit, I like So when Frimpong gets the ball here, you see too many times strikers go and stand in here.
Yeah.
So don't get ahead of the ball. And that for me, is waiting to see what develops so he can attack it. And yeah, as Michael said, it was a fantastic header.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a
He
brilliant.
creates that for
It's the
himself,
only
doesn't he?
place he can head it, the way where he's coming down, Steve. It's incredible. And this is direct play. Again, he's always got somebody that he's looking to play to as well. Even though he's selfish, he wants to score. He's always, if someone's in a better position, he'll lay it off and he'll get into a position himself. And I love that near post run.
This
All
one
good
fascinates
strikers.
me because I was at the game. When he picks it up, where it finishes is unthinkable from that first touch, isn't it? How difficult is the second goal he scores in this game?
Right, it's difficult, yeah. This is good centre forward play and getting across the defender. And then it's about concentration levels, can you make good connection? Again,
From
running
here.
the channel, running the channel. And, he's... What you're seeing there from a striker, he's attacked the space. So he's come in and he knows the space is on the outside. He knows he can outrun him. And it's just about, can he get that touch right? And that is a world-class finish, that is. An absolute world-class finish. And he took it early, which surprised the keeper.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way he uses his outside of the foot there, because quite naturally, we're going to have a look at something here, Steve, quite quickly, that is very similar to. This is Fernando Torres. I think this might be his first ever goal, Steve.
His debut.
His debut. And when he scores this, watch, that's with the inside of his foot. He opens himself up and goes with the inside. Now, by going on the inside, you can actually make a bigger target by curling it. Whereas Ekitike in this situation, he doesn't have the luxury of getting past the defender far enough to open his body out. So it's almost like push it and thump it early. Again, a bit like the one where he went away and hit it quick. It was touch on the outside and hit it quick, because if he takes too big a touch, he kills his angle again. So it was another incredible finish. And when he isolates somebody like that, he's got the pace, he's got the skill, he's got the finishing ability. He's got the lot, this lad.
Yeah, in his debut season in the Premier League. So we just thought we'd have a look at a few strikers in their first ever season in the Premier League, how they did. Not surprisingly, Erling Haaland is top of the list. Andy Cole is up there as well. And look at that. In the 99-2000 season, 30 goals in his first season in the Premier League. Kevin Phillips ended up with European Golden Boot, Premier League Golden Boot. I mean, it was an
I missed four penalties. That's all I remember from that season. That's when I think back to it. I'm like, I should have had more. But that was a season. I remember Al Shearer came out the season before and said he thinks that nobody would get 30 or more Premier League goals in a season again, just because of the quality of the defenders coming into the Premier League. So when I got closer and closer, I was desperate to get one over on him. So I managed to do it. But it was one of those seasons, Mo will tell you, that every time I took to the pitch, I just felt I was going to score. And I didn't let it affect me if I missed an opportunity, because I knew that I would get another one.
And you can see that in Ekitike at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. He's full of confidence and he looks like he's going to score every game he plays.
Just before you get too touchy, you won the Premier League Golden Boot in your first season in the Premier League as well.
Thanks, mate.
You just didn't quite make the numbers on
But
that.
I was 17.
Correct. Right, let's take a break. When we come back...